evaluation results, and keeping a good level of shift adherence. Okay, but here is the real question. Does any of it actually work? Hello interpreters, this is Mason the interpreter. Today I'm going to talk about some ways to increase your chances of getting a raise as a remote interpreter. Right off the bat, I can tell some of you will be coming hot, ready to write comments like, what's the point of this? Great companies will never care about us enough to give a raise. Or, it doesn't work as long as there are other cheap interpreters who take our jobs for peanuts. I understand. That is definitely a valid concern for many people. I will never deny that. But here is my take on this. If I just sit here and say, getting a raise is impossible in this industry because the system is just fundamentally flawed and messed up due to greedy companies, so there's no point in trying. You see, that's easy, but also that doesn't bring you any values. I understand that there are many interpreters out there who face wage discrimination in this industry that's beyond our power. Yes, that is the sad truth. But that doesn't mean we have to just sit around and wait until the perfect job comes along. There's got to be something you can try to make the situation better for you as an individual. So to help you, I am going to share how I managed to get raises as a remote interpreter. But in order for me to do that, I first have to explain a very important concept called bargaining power. Well, here's Bob. Bob is a remote interpreter who has been working for an LSP for about 2 years now. After 2 years of hard work, Bob finally decided to request a raise because he deserves it, right? He sent an email to the company, but there is no answer for 6 months. After 6 months, as Bob finally hears from the company that the company regretfully declines his request. And Bob is mad, so he starts sharing his experience and tells other people how this company sucks and that there is zero growth in this industry. But here is the question, why did Bob get rejected? Is it because this company is just a really bad company? Or is it because Bob just sucks at interpreting? I'm sure there are many different factors on why Bob didn't get his raise, but one way to explain it is because Bob had zero bargaining power. And this bargaining power actually isn't just about Bob, it is about both of them, both Bob and the company he works for. So what is this bargaining power? Well, here's the definition you will find if you Google it or ask ChatGPT, but let me explain this with a very simple example. Let's say you sell apples. And there is a customer who wants to buy an apple with their money. Say you are selling one apple for $1. But now you want to start charging $2 instead of $1 for one apple. How can we do that? The answer is that you need to increase your bargaining power. Another way to see it is that if your customer doesn't want to pay $2 for one of your apples, that means your bargaining power is too low. But if your customer is willing to spend more money to buy an apple from you, then it must mean that you've got the bargaining power that is high enough. So in really simple words, the higher the bargaining power, the higher chance for you to get what you want, whether that is charging $2 per apple or requesting a 20% raise as an interpreter. So bringing back our friend Bob here, how do we increase the bargaining power? Well, that's what I am going to talk about in this video. I have 3 different ways that you can increase your bargaining power, and these 3 ways have different levels of difficulty. If you're ready to find out what they are, let's get started. Here is the first and the easiest way to increase your bargaining power: increase your value. If you want to charge more money for your apples, then one simple way of doing that would be to make your apples more attractive. Maybe you start growing organic apples without using pesticides, or pick them one by one instead of using machines that can hurt the apples. I don't know. I really don't know much about apples, but you get what I'm saying. What we want to do is to bring up the quality of apples so that customers are drawn to our high quality apples. As an interpreter, there are many ways that we can increase our value. Simply gaining experience from working as an interpreter could increase your value as an interpreter. Seeking for education and certification can be a great way to increase your value as well. In case you didn't know, I do have a free medical interpreting course that I offer on YouTube. If you're interested, please check that out. Some other ways would be receiving good QA evaluation results and keeping a good level of shift adherence. Okay, but here is the real question. Does any of it actually work? I'm sure many people who watch this video will think this doesn't work because companies only care about money. Yes, you could be right, but let me try putting it this way. An interpreter who simply requests for a raise because they have been working with the company for 2 years, versus an interpreter who has been working hard to develop themselves professionally, actively strives to achieve great QA results, and tries their best to be responsible for good shift adherence. When it comes down to negotiating for a raise, who will have higher bargaining power? Can you confidently say that the former and the latter have exactly same bargaining power? Because speaking from my own experience, I really don't think all of this effort means nothing. As I mentioned earlier, this was the easiest way of increasing your bargaining power. I am not saying increasing your value is an easy thing to do, because it really isn't. It takes years of consistent effort to achieve that, but it is something interpreters can do and should do if they take their career seriously. Here is another way that's slightly more difficult. That is lowering your dependency. What do I mean by this? Let's go back to our Apple business. I want us to imagine a situation where our regular customer stops buying your Apple because they found cheaper and better apples. This hurts our business, right? So we don't want this. Then, besides increasing the quality of our Apple like we just talked about, what else can we do? We can lower our dependency on that one regular customer by finding ourselves more customers. If we can find ourselves more customers, then we don't have to worry so much about losing business from one customer, and we might even feel more comfortable charging more money for our Apple. That's exactly what we do with our work as well. When you are working for just one company that will pay all of your bills, it will feel extremely difficult and risky to bargain. However, if you have 4 companies that you work for, losing one isn't the end of the world. This is what we need. When you are dependent on one company, it significantly lowers your bargaining power. And trust me, it will show. However, if you can depend less on one single company by diversifying your work, it is going to be a lot easier for you to negotiate. The final and the most difficult method of gaining greater bargaining power is expanding your role. What does this mean? Let's say this situation happens as you are selling your apples. You see a customer that you used to be friends with from high school. So instead of pretending like you never remembered him, you ask how he has been. You two now have a chit-chat and maybe casually mention how difficult it has been to get by with selling apples. Now, you two are no longer just a buyer and a seller. You two now have a different relationship, something deeper than the customer-business relationship, which could potentially help with your business. In fact, this is not the only example of you expanding your role. Maybe instead of just selling apples in person, you start a social media channel or an online store that ships apples worldwide. What this does is that you are no longer just a small business that sells apples on the street. Now you are a retailer that sells apples, apple chips, apple juice, apple jams, whatever that is, on a much larger scale. I know you might be a little confused where I am going with this. Here is my point. When you are interacting with your company as an interpreter, you are just one interpreter out of many interpreters, probably hundreds or thousands, depending on the size of your company. This relationship naturally gives you a very low bargaining power, especially in the industry with low barriers to entry, meaning other people are lined up to replace you. However, if you can expand your role, whether that is working with the company as a QA specialist, or a recruiter, or an onboarding assessment reviewer, whatever it is, your bargaining power is bound to increase because now you are no longer just one of many interpreters that they have. And this is not the only option. Perhaps you can become a social media influencer who can potentially bring positive traffic to the company. Maybe there can be a business opportunity directly with the company that you might be able to build a different relationship from. Or maybe you become a little closer with someone from the company, whether that's your recruiter or a manager or supervisor or even a CEO of the company that might be able to help you get what you want. But as you can imagine, this isn't something you can just achieve by trying hard. From my experience, not only that you have to try hard with great patience and humility, you also have to be quite lucky too. So I understand if anyone feels like that some of these things are not feasible, I will say it again. It's not meant to be easy, but I can say this because this is what I did. That is it for today's video. Did this video help? If it did, please click the thumbs up button to like this video because that will help me a lot to make more videos like this. If you have any questions or something you wish to talk about with me or other interpreters, feel free to leave it in the comments. Thank you for watching once again, and interpreter disconnecting. Bye-bye.